Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming along today. Welcome to our webinar on mastering software quality management. We have a lot of material to cover in a relatively short space of time, but hopefully we'll be able to provide you with some guidance on how to improve your software quality management process, how to identify and resolve potentially future issues, and some of the major pitfalls to avoid, right? We will have a Q&A session after the presentation, and we will also send out the slide deck and our SQM template tomorrow. So if you do require any further information, you can just email Daniel or myself. Maybe give us a little bit of background on your project, what you're hoping to achieve, right? So I'll just kick it off, give a quick intro on myself, and then I'll hand it over to Daniel. So a quick intro on me would be my background is started with a company called Semaphore Europe. They were a C++ and object-oriented analysis and design training and consulting company, and I ran Semaphore Europe for a couple of years. We basically did training and consulting across Europe at the early stage of object technology, really. Then I was with a company called Iona Technologies, and they had a Corba implementation. So from the object management group, they had an implementation called Orbix. Very successful company, and we're one of the first, possibly the first Irish company to do an IPO on NASDAQ. I was Global VP for Professional Services, and then I was VP for Europe, Middle East, Africa for both product and services. So I have my own company for 20 years now called OrkidTech, and basically we're now helping our clients to build better software faster by providing technical expertise and resources. So we have been partners with Ralabs for over 10 years now. We have worked together on many different diverse projects, including things like ATM software for financial services, drone delivery, mobile banking, cabin crew in applications, in-flight entertainment, just to name a few. I think the beauty of working on many different client projects means we get to utilize many different technologies and solutions and get to understand what works well and also what doesn't work, right? Which is equally important. So now I'm delighted to hand you over to Daniel and who can do a quick intro and then get the presentation started. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you. My name is Daniel Niiaziiev. I'm head of engineering at Ralabs. I have 15 years of software expertise, and I'm a PHP and Ruby developer in past. Now I doing a lot of management work, so technical overseeing, technical quality on the projects, and I'm engaged in discussions and talks with new clients. Like last 5 years, I also improving my expertise in data engineering, data science, and AI ML stuff. Last 2 years, it became even more intense. And we in Ralabs helping startups and software development companies with technical stuff, with development, with architecture, with UI UX. So we're doing a lot, and we plan to do even more. And today's topic is around project. So main audience, I believe it's managers of the projects, the founders, it's people who plan to do investments in this area. And it also can be useful for developers for engineering stuff. So let's start. So we all know product development challenges. During development of software products, we facing such issues like inefficiencies, delays in delivery, bug leakage, lack of transparency, poor communication. So I think everyone at some point of time can have such challenges. Yeah, and usually such audits or checks we will talking today. They needed as a one-off action when, for example, you need to estimate if you need to invest in some project, if you need to collaborate, or as a regular activity. Yeah, so you can set up the process to regularly get insights and get the big picture about how is going on your project or on a project of your partners or colleagues. And essentially, this tool we developed inside of Ralabs. We spent thousands of hours already using it and improving it. So today I want to share and discuss with you valuable insights on it because it's quite a huge expertise here. So the goal essentially to be aware of what's going on with the project. Let's imagine that you have development team. Maybe you hired some vendor, or maybe you hired in-house people, and you want to know the big picture. Yeah. So what is the quality? What we're delivering? How we're delivering, and so on. And for such tasks, we have usually two major approaches here. So first thing we can do is essentially to prevent. So we're trying to prevent any inefficiencies. We're trying to prevent tech debt. We're trying to prevent maintainability issues, all that stuff. So when we're talking about more or less long-term project, we want to have this and we want to not miss it. Yeah, and but also we have always some pressure. It's not always possible to do because we have these requirements and demand from users or investors. We have tight deadlines. Business always have limited resources. We have people-related challenges such as vacation, illness, or layoffs. So we need to ensure a smooth and transparent process and knowledge sharing. So all these factors essentially creating and leading snowball effect of issues. Yeah. So like we're having this debt and it increases. So we need to have some efficient way to resolve such issues. And how can we do this? So we can use proactive approach. Yeah. So we can we can act. We it always involves some changes. So it's essentially the big chunk of work here is change management. It's always cost more than prevention. Yeah. So I would compare with I don't know, with some medical stuff, with for example with dentist services. If you have caries, yeah, for you easier and cheaper to treat this caries on early stage. Yeah, because if you will wait, your teeth can be destroyed. Yeah, so it can at some point need some major investment. It can include orthodontia or inputting of some transplants, and it will be much more expensive. So prevention is the key, but it's not always possible. Yeah. So usually we can be in a situation when we need already to resolve some consequences of lack of prevention. And however, even on each, it's still cheaper and simpler to act and resolve this issue, because this, as I said, this leads to snowball effect, and after some time you can reach the point when your product will be unmaintainable. Yeah, so it will be even more expensive to get it from this tech debt state. So we deal with it using our framework. So we applied it for already around 2 years. We using essentially 3 layers. Yeah. Now, on the first layer, we have leadership, so top management of company, demonstrating commitment to software quality management, and we have established policies to assign responsibilities, to ensure availability of resources, some reviews and feedbacks. Middle management overseeing development. They take care of implementation and maintenance of software quality management. Usually we have policies in place to report, to escalate, to address incidents or weaknesses. And employees as a third layer, they participating in training programs and workshops, and they fill in surveys to understand their role and in SQM, and providing project-related information and insights. So basically, from their input, we can have this big picture, and then we can decide, prioritize, and address this.
Daniel, just a question, Daniel. How do you ensure team buy-in for software quality management practices?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we tried different approaches, and first it was just a directive approach. Yeah, so we have this checklist. We need to ensure if we have all needed and relevant best practices in place. But it's not always work. Yeah, without positive experience, any directive approach doesn't. And we started to ensure that team or some particular team member can catch some issue using SQM and then address it in some meaningful amount of time, usually in timely manner. Yeah, so we're trying to find some issue and resolve it. And after that, team or client or users or management should get this positive experience. Yeah, so they need to have understanding that we caught this issue, we resolved it, and we received some positive impact. After that, even after one first iteration with very simple outcomes, team already becoming your advocates, becoming your champions with processing this, working on this, yeah, because they know what they're doing is what they are doing matters, and they see positive impact. So this is the best way so far we have found.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
Yep. So what we cover in our SQM model, because we are a software development company and we're developing custom software and we're providing outsourcing businesses, so we can imagine a generalized list of sections, main sections we're using, and depending on the project. So currently we have, for example, something around 40 projects at Ralabs, and for majority of them, we doing these reviews regularly, and depending on the project and depending on what we're doing there, we're using this list of sections. So engineering practices, it's kind of general thing. Yeah, so almost every software development project includes working with a code base, code reviews, commit strategy, merging, something related to CI/CD, something related to documentation. So all this is engineering practices. UI/UX related to UI/UX, obviously to the front end, databases to any persistent solutions we use. Yeah, and on different projects it can be different. That's why we essentially have this list of generalized things. Yeah, so we try to create this model with the possibility to have, so it's suitable for different projects, and so different for some particular projects. For example, we don't doing front end at all, and we don't doing UI/UX. Yeah, so maybe we focused only on the backend stuff, only on infrastructure. Essentially, these items will be absent. Yeah, so we do not reviewing. And based on these sections, we essentially can aggregate the data and have big picture. And I will explain later on some particular example. So what activities are the part of the process? So we have workshops and QA sessions with development teams. It's crucial part, yeah. So it's almost impossible to get the big picture without talking to people. And again, meetings with the team can be different, yeah, and you can have a lot of meetings, but they will not provide you with proper outcomes. So we have a particular approach how we conduct these meetings, what artifacts we create, what documentation we have as an outcome. And we usually talk with developers, DevOps guys, with QAs, with UI UX designers, project managers, database engineers, solution architect, ML engineers, a lot of service lines, a lot of expertises, just to get their input on some major particular things. Then we documenting and completing surveys of forms, depending on the case. Now, when we have this data, we're essentially analyzing it. Yeah, so we have special team who aggregating this data, making reviews, and prioritizing it. Yeah, and depending on the request or purpose or goal, we can be flexible. Yeah, so if, for example, someone want to buy some project and want to get some insight about this project, we walking through outcomes with the client, and we providing outcomes and the recommendations and estimates about how to address issues found. If we're doing it internally for our internal projects, we have this we have these discussions with the team, and then we deciding what is priority, what the value we can get from every item be found. So summarized issues can be addressed. Yeah, we have issue, we have some kind of severance or impact. Yeah, so it can be critical, it can be high priority, can be low priority. So we can set this. And the last stage is a continuous improvement. Yeah, so we're trying to have this as a part of the process for product, and we doing regular reviews. So after 3 months, as every quarter or every half year, we're doing review, and then we have possibility to compare. So what we improved during some time, what was changed. Do you have any questions, Ross? Maybe we have something.
No, I think you just answered one I was going to ask, how often one should basically review the process, you know, and how long that takes, I guess. Is it difficult to continuously check it?
So first reviews and first try usually taking the most of the time. Yeah, so like you need to explain to the people how it works. You need to describe benefits of it. Then you need to collect this data, and every team member or responsible team member need to process this data. Yeah, so it's some set of requirements and best practices. So usually, depending on the size of the project, depending on how many service lines we have there, how many types of expertise are included, it can take in total, including all of the workshops, reviews, from 10 to 40 hours. But every next iteration, people already familiar with this, and like survey review and filling the survey. First time can take up to 3 hours, for example. Next time, our record was 40 minutes. Yeah, so it can fall. It can decrease significantly. This one, the most important thing, I would say, and the most interesting one. So this is essentially our model. I will explain how it works. So usually we're using Excel or Google spreadsheets. And we have these formulas and we have these tables. So here on the screen, we have two sections, engineering practices and UI UX. But again, depending on the project and depending on what we're doing on this project, we can have different sections here. So it can be backend, it can be frontend, it can be ML related stuff. It depends. Yeah. So, but in general, we have quite a big list of questions and sections, and we can decide which is relevant. And essentially, to decide which is relevant, we're using this column named applicable. Yeah. So we can decide if the whole section relevant to the project or if some particular attribute relevant. And attribute or line here and on the screen, it's essentially the best practice. Yeah, and we have this attribute formatted like a question, and every answer to this question means positive impact. Yeah, so if, for example, if we have code review process in place on this project, positive answer means that we have this practice, it's relevant and it's good. So it gives good impact to the project and good outcome. And vice versa. Yeah. So like if we understand that we need to have code review process in this project, but we do not have it, we understand this is some gap and we need to address it. And very important thing here also that every item, let's take this code review stuff, yeah, we're trying to indicate if it works completely. So for example, we have 3 repositories on our project, and we have code review only for one. What we should answer here? Yeah, we need to think what is the purpose, and purpose is to see some gaps. Yeah, so if it works partially or are in use partially, yeah, so we have this code review on one repository, but we do not have on 2. We can say that we're using it completely on whole our project. Yeah, and it means the gap. Yeah, so the target to have code review process for all repositories on the project. And in that case, we can say that it works completely and we do not have gaps, and we do not have code review gap to address. Hope this makes sense. And after we passing through this checklist, usually we involving responsible people. So for example, to talk about engineering practices, we including project managers, we including team leads or senior engineers, and they can share this knowledge. If we're talking about UI UX, we're involving designer, and so on and so on. Yeah, so we can go through every type of expertise and collect this knowledge. And we using comment section, so everyone can add some clarification, ask some questions from myself or from someone from the team. Any questions, Ross? How it?
No, one question would be, if there is, for whatever reason, a change of, say, personnel, whether one developer or 2 developers had to change or there was a changeover, is it easy to do a handover?
Yes. So we have approach when for every engineer or for every employee on the project, we're trying to have the kind of common knowledge. And this is the part of common knowledge. Yeah. So we usually trying to avoid bus factor. And when we do not have someone available, we usually have someone else who can support with this, or at least share the knowledge. Yeah. So every new person can be easily onboarded on this. And I think it's a general approach for any project and for project-specific knowledge also.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thanks,
it works.
Cool.
Okay, and then essentially after passing this survey, we're using formulas to aggregate this data. Yeah, so like people answering questions marking these checkboxes, and then our formulas can calculate some averages. And we're trying to aggregate the data. So depending on the project, here on the screen we have sample of very example project when we need to only understand our scores for engineering practices, for project management, for quality assurance. And you can see the math, it's pretty simple. Yeah, so we have 8 out of 10 for engineering practices, 7 out of 10 for PM, 9 out of 10 for QA, and we can calculate average here. So it's 8 out of 10 for this project. And it's abstract metric. Yeah, it can say nothing without proper analysis. Yeah, but it's metric. And around that, you essentially can build a lot of things. Yeah, so you can build some KPI metrics, what we have in Ralabs. So we quite data driven. So we're measuring a lot of stuff. And how it looks in spreadsheet. Yeah, so results review can be reviewed, and we can summarize and see some gaps. Yeah, so here on the screen we have example. So this bottom right corner has this average. Yeah, and we can essentially see some summary, and we can use this number if we have continuous process. Yeah, so we made this analysis at the start of the year, for example, and then we need to compare after some changes, after some improvements, what changed after half a year or in next quarter. Yeah, and here we have this big picture. Yeah, so ideal summary when we have all marks close to 10. Yeah, so every score close to 10, and essentially it will be kind of big circle. Yeah, here we see some gaps, and we can understand that here, for example, we have some gaps in engineering practices, in backend, in AI amplifier, so different sections or different disciplines we analyzed, and we can aggregate it. Yeah, and we can decide what to do. Yeah, so it not always saying that it's something wrong. Yeah, so maybe we made this and we had some shortcuts. We needed to create some tech debt. We needed to create or omit some best practices, and we had this in mind. Yeah, so we understanding why we did this because of the business request, because of faster time to market. But we know, and we have these numbers here about the big picture. And here, for example, it's a comparison. Yeah, so during the first quarter, we made analysis, we get this knowledge, we understand that we need to improve. And in second quarter, we made improvements, we reworked something, and now we can see some progress. Yeah, so we improved engineering practices, we improved backend, and in general, we see some better picture. Check the next slide. This one is about aggregated view. So here, for example, we had the average 5.6 something. In the next quarter, we had average 7.3 something, and we clearly see some progress. Yeah, and we can use this data, some kind of aggregated or generalized data, and we can compare from quarter to quarter, yeah, how we progressing or degrading because of some reasons. And again, the tool by itself do not resolve and do not provide clean solution. Yeah, so like we cannot say that we will be starting to using this tool and we conduct these surveys and then we resolve a lot. It just gives understanding. It gives a big picture and some insights. Yeah, and we can understand what we did on purpose, and we totally okay with this, and client totally okay, users okay, team is okay with this. So, or we see some gaps, and we need to discuss, prioritize, and improve. Ross?
Yeah, Daniel. If the client is an external client, so you're doing a project for a client.
Yeah.
Would you typically share this sort of information or summarize it, or do you have some of the graphs?
Yes. So essentially, we providing summary because it's not a big value in going through every item of our checklist, go through documentation. It's a lot of time, yeah. But usually we providing summary, and we can say, like, for example, we're seeing that on the project we have lack of quality assurance best practices, or we do not have particular role which should be responsible for something, yeah. And we seeing big bug leakage to the production, yeah, or we're seeing some inefficiencies about how many hours developers spending on testing something, yeah, and we need maybe to change this approach. So we summarizing this, and we in some cases we even escalating some issues, yeah. So we're seeing that this approach not working well, and we know from our previous experience we can suggest something, yeah, we can go with it, and we having account management calls with our clients, we can discuss this, and essentially it's a kind of catalyst to start these discussions, yeah, because on every project, especially on long-term projects, you have cases when you can some important thing can slip. Yeah, you always have big to-do lists,
Yeah.
and something can be always deprioritized, but on long run, it can give some risks. Yeah, and we're trying to indicate this, and then client can decide. Client can say, yes, I agree. We need to dedicate time, and we need to resolve this issue. We need to conduct this change, facilitate, and ensure that it's changed, and now it works better. So this is the approach.
Okay, perfect.
We use, and essentially a bit more about examples of outcomes and actions on particular examples. Yeah, so I started to explain particular case with QAs. Yeah, so using SQM, we found that the whole quality assurance are responsibility of developers, and we do not have traceability metrics. We do not have enough automation on the project. We do not have dedicated role with the person who are responsible for QA, who signing features to production. Yeah, and we discussed this with the client, with the team, and they clearly said that we need to introduce these changes. Yeah, and we added dedicated QA engineer with supervision of QA expert on our side, and this reduced bug leakage for 15%. We increased release rate, and overall team performance was improved for 20%, which quite a lot. So we just freed developers from excessive testing tasks, yeah, and usually rates for QA engineers are lower than rates for developers. So it was a win-win situation. So everyone won. Another example, infrastructure migration. Yeah, so from quarter to quarter, we saw that existing infrastructure had serious gaps. Yeah, so we used on-premise infrastructure, and then we come up with a proposition, and essentially we find out that client had the same vision, the same kind of intention to move from on-premises to cloud. Yeah, and we essentially migrated. We dedicated some time to do this. It was quite complex migration. They spent more than 3 months to finalize it, but it made possible easier upgrades of legacy software because we had the chance to include better automation on the cloud. It's much more flexible, and infrastructure cost decreased significantly. So from 5,000 per month to 1,000 per month, because on-premise is just more expensive. And last case is about documentation. Again, with SQM, we realized that project have not enough coverage, not enough documentation. Usually it's okay for almost any project. Agile manifesto saying that working functionality always more important than comprehensive documentation. But we was aware that client business growing, and they want to expand. Yeah, so they want to expand significantly, and then they want to grow development team from 4 developers to 10 developers. Yeah, so 4 more developers we should expect next month. And with knowledge that we have not enough documentation, we, from previous experience, know that onboarding, any rotation inside of the team, the knowledge sharing is much more expensive in terms of the time. Yeah, because they need to conduct additional calls. They need to distract each other from tasks and features development to share this knowledge. Yeah, because like if you do not have this artifact, README files, Confluence documentation related to the project, UML diagrams, and so on, it's much harder to onboard people. Then we improved this. We had enough time to do this in advance, yeah, so proactively. And then after 2 or 3 months, we started this hiring, and a lot of people was onboarded. So 4 new engineers onboarded 2 times quicker than before the improvements. This practical example. And I want to sum up in general the benefits of SQM usage. Essentially, there are different approaches on the market, but I would say any approach you will choose will give you benefits. Yeah, and your target and your benefits here should be around I would say 5 items, but you can find more. Enhanced project transparency. So as I said, it provides clear overview of project status, detailing processes, methodologies, roles, documentation. So it provides a big picture, and you can do better decisions. So you will be educated, and you will do these educated decisions about what and what direction, what should we do, and in what direction we should move. Improve team communication. So it's serves as the catalyst for effective communication and aiding resolving outstanding issues within the project management team. So as I said, we always have something which lives on some lower priorities list, and we can just overlook. Yeah, and essentially with help of SQM, we can execute this overlooked task. We can understand that we have this plan, maybe we have some improvements planned, but they was postponed. Yeah, some measures on tasks was not addressed, and then like with neglecting this, but team in day-to-day work have these daily obstacles, so some deployments can take more time, or we can start with fixing some minor issues and miss the big picture. So this stuff. Facilitation of strategic initiatives. Like we encouraging team, and we encouraging client, middle management, essentially think about significant strategic actions. Yeah, and sometimes it's necessary to involve top management. We can escalate some tricky topics. Yeah, so maybe at this point of time we will not have particular issues or challenges, but if we will think about some future, yeah, we can envision with help of the SQM, with these discussions, we can envision future risks, yeah, and we can start to address them in advance and save time and money. And last item is continuous improvement. So through regular assessments, we can have the big picture. We can decide what can we address and how we can address it with what resources, and then we can do this regularly, yeah, and again, regular maintenance of anything, of your car, of your health, of your project, is much more cheaper than like firefighting and resolving some critical issues, because at some point of time, you always have risk that business can grow. You will need to develop more, and so on and so on. And you need to have such stuff to address it. Ross, do you have anything to add or to ask?
I know every project is different, right? And so, but is there I guess there's a general learning from using the SQM methodology as you go along. Is there, when you finish a project, is there any information that you can kind of nearly utilize again for another project?
You mean in terms of the SQM?
Yes. Yeah. Or is it just a general learning, a general improvement in-house?
I think it's related to knowledge, to general knowledge, yeah, because we also treat SQM as internal standard. So
right.
Like every project we start, we usually have a ticket tracking system, we usually have proper README files, so everyone can pull the code and kick off the project easily. We use the, CI/CD, and we have general rules for any project, no matter size of this project. It's 1 developer, it's 10 developers, and we're ensuring that we have this standard. Yeah, and even when we rotate people from one project to another, it's more or less easy because it's standardized. So this is this knowledge. And another thing is discipline, because we're trying to discipline ourselves, middle management, developers, to know about this, but not only know, because knowledge without action is like not give a lot of value. But with action and with discipline, we need to do efforts, we need to do extra mile to stick to the standard and to ensure the standards we have in place. So these two things are universal. Yeah, so you can use it on every project.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Super. So we have Q&A time. Maybe we have questions in chat. Maybe we have some questions from you, Ross.
Yeah, so we have one of the questions from Andrew was, how can leaders address resource limitations in SQM implementation?
Yeah, so time is always a valuable resource, and the time of development team is always conflicting. And usually we operate with two things. It's a project need, so project needs, project future, what's going on there. And we're trying to talk to client and understand and explain. See, you have such issue, or you can have such issue, and it will cost you such time and money in future. Let's dedicate some time and address it now. Yeah, so we usually have 100% working arguments why we need to do this now and here. Another thing is a team experience. So I think maybe you know that there are a lot of hustle around development experience, engineering experience. Yeah, so how people working, how they doing their day-to-day work, and if they are happy with the process, with the tools, with the tasks on the project. Yeah, and we talk also to the teams. And then if we have this kind of consensus that we need to address it, we're trying to find the time. And usually we build it inside of existing activities, to not add additional meetings, to not dedicate some particular time. Usually it's just a kind of add-on to the plannings or groomings or to the stand-ups. And we have this as a part of regular Scrum or Kanban process. That's the way.
Okay. So I have another one final question here as well too, which is an interesting one, and it's from John. It says, what insights have you gained from tracking kind of team happiness or satisfaction in SQM, and any surprises?
So it's also important thing. Yeah. So maybe you noticed on the summary we have a particular metric, team happiness, and it's more about project and like life of engineers or designers or managers inside of this project. How happy they are with challenges, how happy they are with development process, with tasks on the project, and how we conduct this. Again, we have survey forms. Sometimes they are predefined depending on the project. And the main insight here is this honest feedback from people. Yeah, so it's not always possible to get and aggregate this feedback on one-to-one calls or on some hands-ups meetings. Yeah, so it's not always honest. Yeah, sometimes people tend to comply. Yeah, to conform some situation, and even if they have obstacles, they sometimes not willing to share it. Yeah, for the sake of the project, for the sake of the client, and we getting a lot of insight, and it's continuous improvement around how we getting this feedback about team happiness. But about any surprises, I'm trying to recall some particular case. Again, it I think can be related to quality assurance. Yeah, to that example I already shared, that developer team was not happy that they need to spend around 40% of their time testing. Yeah, so it was not the best experience for them, and they was not used to do such work. Yeah, and they shared this honestly, and then we take measures, and it converted to improve performance with very low investments. So such things we can get from team happiness.
Okay, interesting.
Reviews.
That's okay. That's all the questions that we have there that came in. So I guess we'll just probably wrap it up now. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming along today. And I'd like to thank Sophia for all her help in putting the webinar. Much appreciated. And of course, Daniel for sharing some of his knowledge with us today. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
We will send out the slide deck and the SQM template tomorrow for all people who registered and attended. If you do require any further information, you can email Daniel or myself, or the general information, right? And we're happy to oblige and happy to get back to you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you, guys.
We will talk to you again. Cheers.
Cheers.